My boyfriend is a prince of the Beijing Circle, worth over 100 billion. To test me, during the 7 years we were together, he never bought me any gifts, nor did he spend a single penny on me. Even when buying a small umbrella at a convenience store, he insisted on splitting the cost with me. Later, when my mother was seriously ill, I borrowed from all my relatives and friends, only short of the last 2,000 yuan to cover the surgery fee. No matter how much I begged my boyfriend, he never lent me the money. After handling my mother's funeral alone, when I went home to pack, I unexpectedly found a gift list he had bought for the neighbor's younger sister. Luxury villas, designer bags, jewelry worth over 100 million. There was also a chat record with his brother. Shawn, I heard Lynn knelt down to you to borrow 2,000 yuan, is that true? Shawn gave a playful cold snort, his indifferent voice sounding. Nina is right, kneeling to others everywhere just for 2,000 yuan, what kind of woman isn't greedy for wealth? We've only been together for 7 years, and she's already so eager to get money from me. It turned out that the 7 years of testing was nothing but a provocation from his neighbor's younger sister. It doesn't matter anymore. Anyway, from the moment my mother passed away, I decided to leave him. Just as I put the gift list back in its original place, the door at the entrance was opened. Shawn, carrying a slight buzz from the alcohol, swaggered and sat beside me. You disappeared for a few days, I thought you had some backbone and wouldn't come back. It's not that I can't leave you, I'm obediently coming back. He almost blurted out that I was coming back just to scam him for money again. Or maybe from the very beginning, in his heart, I was just a woman after his money. I didn't even lift my eyelids, just shifted a bit to the side, avoiding his reaching arm. He was stunned for a moment, looked at his hand, then at me. He just thought I was sulking with him over those 2,000 yuan. I drank a bit, I'm a little thirsty, go make me some hangover soup. He always did this, unconsciously putting on the airs of a young master. But during the time he first chased me 7 years ago, he used clumsy acting to portray himself as a poor man, deceiving me completely. Lynn, I have nothing, and I can't give you a stable future. But we can work hard together and live a good life. At that time, looking at his sincere face, I still nodded. I was short of money, but I could completely support myself through my own efforts. Choosing Shawn was also because of his words, let's work hard together and live a good life, which touched me. But the longer we were together, the more I felt he was different from ordinary people. He would subconsciously show disdain for affordable things. He would also order me to do things he could easily do himself. Until I saw him getting out of a luxury car while I was working, being treated like a star as he walked into a high-end club. Only then did I fully realize that our relationship was full of lies. And he was always afraid I was after his money. Shawn spoke again, interrupting my thoughts. If you want money in the future, you can just tell me directly, using your mother's body as a cover. Aren't you afraid of being struck by lightning? His words made me feel incredibly ridiculous. I looked up, coldly staring at him. Let me be direct, would you give it to me just because I asked? He was taken aback, his expression somewhat hesitant. But the next second, as if confirming something, he immediately showed a sarcastic look. Nina was right, you stay by my side just for my money, he said, sending me a transfer of 1.88 yuan via his phone. He added a note to the transfer with just a few words, a woman greedy for wealth. I was with him for a full 7 years and never spent a penny of his. Even on holidays or anniversaries, I would prepare gifts for him. He accepted them without hesitation, yet because he never prepared anything for me, he sarcastically asked if I thought it was only natural for men to buy gifts to appease their girlfriends. This is how he described me, calling me a woman greedy for wealth. This is the crown prince of the Beijing Circle with assets worth hundreds of billions. Thinking of the gift list he prepared for Nina. Thinking of my mother, tormented by illness to the point of being unrecognizable, yet without money for treatment, leaving in pain. I don't want to face him for even one more second. Just as I got up wanting to leave, there was movement at the door again. Nina walked in while taking off her coat, revealing a sexy outfit underneath. But the moment she saw me, she was startled and quickly put her coat back on. Sister Lynn, why are you here? I turned to look at Shawn. If I'm not mistaken, this is the house we rent together. Not only did you casually give the password to others, but you also allow them to barge in at will? Hearing me say this, Nina looked as if she had suffered a great injustice. She took a few steps over, sat down next to Shawn, and grabbed his arm. Brother Shawn, how could I be considered someone else? I just forgot to bring my house key and wanted to stay over for one night. Besides, if Brother Shawn wasn't willing to share the rent, Sister Lynn would have to bear it all alone. No matter how you say it, Sister Lynn is the one taking advantage. Such provocative words, without me knowing, I wonder how many there have been. After hearing this, Shawn didn't feel he was wrong, instead, he thought Nina made sense. Nina is right, I clearly have my own place, and sharing the rent is really a loss for me. How is this any different from paying someone to sleep with you? After saying that, he took out his payment code and held it in front of me. You wouldn't want others to say you're a woman who's after wealth, right? Then you should return the rent I've paid over these 7 years. This 40-something square meter small apartment was rented by Shawn and me when we first got together. After graduating from university, I stayed in northern Beijing to work in order to earn more money. With my ability at the time, I could only rent a small place far from the city center. Shawn said the place was too far and inconvenient for him to visit me. Shawn also said that the small place wasn't suitable for living at all, and even being intimate there would ruin his mood. He wanted to rent a bigger place with me. So, under the pressure of high rent, I saved the time spent commuting and took on a part-time job. Nowadays, not only does he want me to return the half of the rent he paid over these 7 years, but he even feels like he paid to sleep with me and thinks it's a loss. Shawn, what did you take me for during these 7 years? The tears welling up in my eyes were just for my own regret. 7 years of youth wasted on this kind of person. The hand stretched out in front of me trembled the moment my tears fell. He pressed his lips together and withdrew his hand. I was just joking with you, at worst. Before he could finish, Nina clicked her tongue twice, showing a look of disdain. You still say it's not about Shawn Brother's money, but if it weren't for Shawn Brother, could you afford to live in such a nice house? Shawn Brother, you should cancel the lease next month, you can't always let outsiders take advantage of you. Or have Sister Lynn give you an IOU, that would be fair. If hitting people weren't illegal, I would really want to give each of them a slap. But if I actually hit them, they would definitely find ways to extort money. Wealthy people with no class love this kind of nasty game the most. 7 years, I've played with them enough. I won't accompany them anymore. I won't write an IOU. If they want money, they can sue me and see if the court will rule against me. I'm not living in the house anymore. Since Miss Nina wants to stay for a night, remember to pay Shawn the rent. Otherwise, you'll become a woman who only seeks wealth. I was about to leave when Shawn suddenly grabbed me. The playful expression he had just now was completely gone, replaced by a mix of reproach and restrained anger. Lynn, is this really necessary? Nina and I were just joking with you. I advise you to think carefully. Once you leave here, you won't be able to live in such a nice place again. I was really wrong, terribly wrong. I shouldn't have given up on breaking up just because Shawn, the prince of the Beijing Circle, coaxed me a little after I found out who he was. I should never have believed his words about an equal relationship when he repeatedly accused me of being after his money, thinking that love shouldn't be overshadowed by money. I only remember the coldest days of winter when he would use his belly to warm my feet. When I had menstrual pain, he would gently comfort me with his warm hands. We truly loved each other and were sweet together. But our love must never be tainted by money in any way. Shawn, let's break up. Only when the words break up came out of my mouth did he finally put away his playful smile. At the same time, a trace of panic appeared on his face. Break up? Lynn, you actually brought up breaking up with me? I don't agree. What right do you have to dump me? Even when you're throwing a tantrum, there should be limits. He always placed himself in a lofty position. It was as if dating me was a favor to me. And I just looked at him indifferently. I'm not throwing a tantrum. since you always think I'm a gold digger, after your money. You should go find someone from a similar background and have a fair relationship. Not wanting to say another word to him, I turned and went back to the bedroom to continue packing. After about half a minute, I heard his angry roar. Lynn, don't regret this. I ignored the harsh words he threw out and didn't care that he slammed the door and left with Nina. I endured 7 years of a love that treated me like a thief. I did not blame Shawn for not being able to save my mother. He certainly had no obligation to lend me money. But when I needed help the most, even if I knelt down with an IOU begging him to save my mother, he turned a blind eye, and even thought I was a woman after wealth. I completely gave up on him and our 7 years of love. In the middle of the night, carrying all my luggage, walking on a deserted street. The vast Jingbei had no place for me to stay, and likewise, I lost the meaning of staying. My mother is no longer here, and love has also gone separate ways. Every remaining second only adds to the sorrow. With nowhere to go, I sat in the nearby hospital lobby all night. The first thing I did at work was to resign. When my boss received my resignation letter, he looked surprised. Resign? Did Shawn agree to your resignation? By the way, since you are leaving now, there probably won't be much bonus this month. The subsequent salary will be paid into one card, right? I frowned, overwhelmed by the information, and couldn't react immediately. What does it mean to pay into one card? Also, when did I ever get a bonus? More importantly, what does Shawn mean? Seeing my confused face, my boss also showed a puzzled expression. Aren't you and Shawn a couple? Shawn specifically instructed finance to separate your salary payments. The base salary is paid to you, while the bonuses and the raised salary are put on another card, saying you need to save money. I didn't expect you to have a boyfriend like Shawn, and still be so frugal. It's really rare. So, all these years, I only received the salary I had when I first joined. I asked for a raise again and again, but it wasn't because I didn't work hard enough, it was because Shawn transferred it to another card. When I asked the finance department for the salary statement, I saw the bonus I was supposed to get clearly listed as 2,000. A few days ago, I delayed a day handing over to the hospital to gather the last 2,000 yuan. Because of that, my mother passed away without waiting for the surgery. What's even more ridiculous is that the total bonuses Shawn withheld from me over these 7 years were more than enough to pay for my mother's treatment. I was really too foolish. Foolish enough to only know how to work seriously, afraid of being laid off and losing my source of income. Also foolish enough to be completely deceived by Shawn without realizing it. In order to not let him think I was a gold digger, I not only never spent his money, but he even transferred away the earnings I made from my own labor. In this relationship full of lies and insults, I actually persisted for 7 years. When I was about to confront Shawn with my salary statements, he swaggered right up to me. Lynn, we just had a little argument, and you already ran away from home and threatened to quit your job. I see your temper is getting worse and worse. Nina, who was following behind him, looked gleefully malicious. She pretended to be sympathetic as she walked over and said, "Sister Lynn, you're really heartless. You're spending Shawn's money and living in the apartment he rented for you. Without Shawn, could you even survive in northern Beijing? Shameless people can really lie without blushing or feeling guilty." I was so angry that I laughed bitterly and was about to retort. Then Shawn interrupted me. "Nina is right, if it weren't for me, you would have starved to death long ago during these 7 years. Let's just say you're messing around today. I'll specially give you a day off to go home with me. I won't deduct this day of absence from your salary." The more I saw Shawn's true nature, the more I felt how blind I had been during these long 7 years. People around started pointing fingers at me. When they saw Shawn didn't stop them, their voices grew louder. Shawn hid his identity just because he didn't want Lynn to feel inferior. He always asked us to keep it a secret, which shows how much Shawn cares about her. Living off Shawn, staying at Shawn's place, and still losing temper with Shawn. / wanting to fly up to the branch and become a phoenix, but not looking at whether you have the capital. Without Shawn, what is she? / The more people gossiped around, the more Shawn was smug. Nina kept backing him up, pinning some baseless accusations all on me. Sister Lynn, didn't you even ask brother Shawn for 2,000 yuan, falsely claiming that your mother was dying and waiting for a miracle? Liking money but still trying to build a persona for yourself, you're really being two-faced. Her words were like cold water poured onto hot oil, causing an instant uproar around. Everyone looked at me with contempt, and the insults kept coming one after another. I looked at Shawn, who still wore an indifferent expression. There was even a sense of grievance, as if Nina had spoken his true feelings. I pulled up the corners of my mouth, revealing an absurd smile. Just as I was about to speak, Shawn casually grabbed me and pretended to be magnanimous, acting as a peacemaker. Forget it, the past is the past, I'm not short of money. If you want money in the future, just ask me openly. No need to make so many excuses. Shawn spoke up, and the whole office was even more indignant, all thinking I was ungrateful. Exactly, Shawn is so rich, if he wants money he can just ask directly. Cursing your own mother to ask for money, that's just inhumane. I really didn't expect Lynn to be that kind of person. I used to think she was frugal and often brought her food. People like her deserve to be dumped by Shawn, she won't be able to survive in Jingbei. I looked at colleagues who used to be close to me, and they joined in stepping on me. Thinking again about what Shawn did, I suddenly felt it was quite meaningless. Since I'm leaving anyway, I might as well show him my pay slips right now. He and Nina still use all kinds of bizarre remarks to continue humiliating me. Silently pocketing the salary statements. I looked up and smiled at Shawn. We've been together for 7 years, you can easily calculate how much money I've spent on you. If you can't tell me a single cent that was spent on me, please pay back the hundreds of thousands you owe me. Otherwise, whether it's you or your company, just wait for me to sue. Constantly claiming that our relationship is not about money, yet always filled with money. And he, a prince of the Beijing Circle who appears to spend money like water in others' eyes, is actually spending the life-saving money I saved for my mother. After a moment of deep thought, a trace of panic flashed in Shawn's eyes. Of course, he couldn't think of any time he had spent money on me, he even made me split the cost of a small umbrella. I thought it wasn't that richer people were stingier, but that I simply wasn't worth him spending a single cent on me. Maybe he wanted to argue something else, but I no longer wanted to listen. As I turned to leave, Nina suddenly pushed me. I lost my balance and fell to the ground. Lynn, don't confuse things. How could brother Shawn owe you money? If you dare to spread rumors, aren't you afraid we'll call the police to arrest you? If you go to jail, lying in the hospital waiting for your mom to earn money to support you, no one will take care of you. You better apologize to brother Shawn quickly. Nina thought she could threaten me. But now, I have no attachments left. At this moment, the passing supervisor happened to see Shawn and also squeezed into the crowd. She was holding an application form in her hand. Shawn, Lynn's mother passed away a few days ago, and you have not yet approved and signed the employee condolence fund. Also, the application for Lynn's advance of 2,000 yuan salary, I have already withdrawn it following your instructions. It's just a pity, I heard that Lynn's mother was only 2,000 yuan short of covering the surgery fee. Besides deducting my bonus and salary raise, Shawn also deliberately pretended to be ignorant and did not sign the employee condolence fund. Even the application for the salary advance was withdrawn by him. It was clearly just 2,000 yuan, so why couldn't he give it to me? Why did he have to make things difficult for me? Thinking about everything I have done for Shawn over the years, I just feel pitifully stupid. If I worked at another company, I wouldn't be so tired, and I would have a lot of savings. Maybe my mother could have survived. I wish I had never met Shawn. Just now, those who said I was after money and even used my mother's colleagues, when I heard my boss's words, I was completely dumbfounded. Everyone lowered their heads and didn't dare to look at me. Perhaps they didn't expect such a quick slap in the face. But when the person across was Shawn, no one dared to question him. People always bully the weak, even when the strong are in the wrong. I understood these truths a long time ago, but when I actually encountered them, I felt a deep sadness. Colleagues whose planning proposals I helped with, friends whose children I took care of, those are the people I once helped. Even knowing the truth, they dare not stand up and speak out for me. It's both ridiculous and ironic. After calming myself, I spoke calmly. Shawn, have you calculated it clearly? How much money have I actually made from you? Compared to my composure, Shawn was somewhat flustered. He couldn't think of any place where he had spent money on me. Not even a drop of water, not even a grain of salt. Shawn suddenly grabbed his boss's hand tightly, his voice a bit tense. Lynn's mother really passed away. The boss nodded, not understanding. Yes, Shawn, you didn't know? Shawn's vision went black, and he almost lost his balance. He couldn't believe that the aunt who always called him Little Shawn had really died. And it was indirectly caused by him. Seeing his state, one might think it was his own mother who had passed away. I sneered coldly, my teasing laced with a hint of sarcasm. Can't remember? Or maybe you never did. I originally wanted to mock a bit, but then thought, why bother arguing with such a person? The most important thing now is to get my mother's ashes and take her away from this sorrowful city. Shawn always knew I was a strong and ambitious person. Over the years, I truly never spent a penny of his. If a person with a very strong sense of pride is willing to kneel to you for money, then she must be facing great difficulties. Shawn always understood. It was just that every time he wavered, Nina could pull him back. Shawn's unfocused eyes suddenly became clear. He looked around and finally spotted me at the elevator entrance. Lynn. As soon as he spoke, the elevator doors closed. A huge sense of crisis surged in Shawn's heart. He had a premonition that if he couldn't get my forgiveness, this time I would leave him forever. Shawn strode toward the elevator, repeatedly pressing the elevator buttons. Seeing the floors gradually descending, Shawn muttered curses under his breath. He kicked the elevator door a few times. The surrounding air pressure also dropped because of his bad temper. Nina naturally knew what Shawn was about to do next. To stop him, Nina hurriedly chased after Shawn, hanging onto his waist. Brother Shawn, where are you going? Shawn broke free from Nina, who was holding him tightly from behind. His brows furrowed slightly. I want to go apologize to Lynn. A trace of resentment flashed in Nina's eyes, but she quickly hid it. Brother Shawn, if it weren't for you giving Sister Lynn a job opportunity, she wouldn't even be able to stay in Jingbei. Her mother died, so what? It's no big deal. From now on, she can't use that as an excuse to take your money. If you go to find her now, you're just giving her the chance to slap the quilt on your face. Women understand women best, Sister Lynn is just playing hard to get. Shawn suddenly felt that the Nina in front of him was somewhat unfamiliar. He knew how outstanding I was. In recent years, under my leadership, the company has created considerable market value. Instead, Shawn has been secretly suppressing me. A living, breathing human life is actually so worthless in Nina's mouth. Shawn just carefully recalled the past between me and him. He never spent a penny on me, nor was I a woman greedy for wealth. It seems that every time I was hysterical, every time I accused and explained, Shawn was misled by Nina's words. In his heart, the image of me as a woman greedy for wealth has already taken deep root. The current situation is entirely caused by Nina's instigation and sowing discord after every argument between me and him. The words are familiar, the lines are familiar. But now Shawn only feels disgusted. If it weren't for Nina, Shawn wouldn't have such a distorted view of love. By the time he realizes it, everything is already too late. Seeing Nina blocking the elevator entrance, Shawn unusually turned cold. Move aside. Nina was unwilling, her eyes filled with grievance. Brother Shawn, I can't let you. Before she finished speaking, Shawn pushed her away. If you block me again, I will never see you in this lifetime. When Shawn finally reached the first floor, he ran toward the door while shouting, Lynn, don't leave. I ignored him, opened the car door by myself, and left the company. When Shawn arrived at the door, he could only smell the exhaust fumes from the cars. For a moment, he felt somewhat defeated. During these 3 days after leaving the company, Shawn had been looking for me. Of course, I wasn't idle either. During university, I met a senior who, I heard, opened a law firm after graduation. After finding her contact in my address book, I tentatively sent her a message. There was no red exclamation mark, so luckily it wasn't deleted. Because of our previous acquaintance, the senior and I quickly became familiar with each other. I described my situation to the senior and relayed what my boss had said to her. I hoped she could help me recover this money. It rightfully belongs to me. I used to be love-struck, but now I really want to completely cut off this relationship. What belongs to me must be recovered. I don't want Shawn's money, nor do I want to be a woman who lusts after wealth. To prevent any accidents, I asked my senior to help print out the relevant laws and regulations. With the evidence in hand, no one could slander me behind my back. In just 3 days, Shawn looked visibly haggard. After finally getting news from me, it was a court summons. Shawn held the paper, and it took him a long moment to recover. A self-mocking smile tugged at the corner of his mouth. The lawsuit was not as difficult as I had imagined, and after winning, the money quickly arrived in my account. Looking at the balance on the card, I felt a bit unreal for a moment. My mother has already passed away, so this money no longer means much to me. But I also cannot allow the money I deserve to be unfairly withheld by Shawn. At the courthouse entrance, the wind tousled my hair. I returned to my hometown. I opened the small courtyard where my mother and I once depended on each other. The familiar scent brought tears flooding into my eyes once again. Helplessly, I held my mother's ashes and crouched on the ground, crying bitterly. I'm sorry, Mom, for not being able to give you a good life. I'm sorry, Mom, for not being able to gather enough money for the surgery at the critical moment. I'm sorry, Mom, for not letting you see me get married. There are truly many ways in which I have let you down. After crying until I was exhausted, I saw the small bench in the courtyard. On it was the smiling face my mother had drawn for me. However, the bench had been covered with moss from long disuse. I picked up the bench and walked to the creek nearby. I brushed the stains on it again and again with a brush. The smiling face on the bench became clearer and clearer. That smile looked like my mother's. I reached out and gently stroked the pattern on the bench, murmuring, "Mom, I will live well." As the words fell, my tears also dripped onto the bench. I really can't live without my mom. After adjusting my emotions, I returned to the small courtyard. Being busy always helps to forget worries. After cleaning the yard, I felt much better. These past few days, I have been wandering around the area, trying to see if there is any suitable job for me. But I found nothing. There are quite a few lotus ponds in the village, so I came up with the idea of building a fish pond. Half for raising fish, half for creating a high-end fishing spot to attract quality customers. It could also help boost the local economy. I looked at the balance in my card and began to mentally map out the blueprint for the fish pond. But in this area, I was ultimately a novice, stumbling along the way. My daily task was to sit at my doorstep, dazed and deep in thought. Aunt Lynn next door came over holding an apple. Seeing that I ignored her, she waved her hand in front of me. "Girl, what's wrong? You seem absent-minded every day. Tell me, and Auntie will help you." "I want to invest in a fish pond, but there are some things I don't understand." I said it out loud, not really expecting Aunt Lynn to be able to help me. I just wanted to ease her worries. To my surprise, Aunt Lynn immediately clapped her hands and exclaimed, "A fish pond? That's great. My nephew Alan specializes in this. He's coming to my house for dinner later. I'll introduce you to, and you can ask him for help." My eyes were full of disbelief. Aunt Lynn joked, "What? You think Aunt Lynn is lying to you?" I quickly shook my head, agreeing to the upcoming meeting. It really was like someone brought a pillow when sleepiness came. I wasn't shy either and hurriedly followed to Aunt Lynn's house to help cook. When Alan arrived, his feet were covered in mud, probably from checking the fish pond. As soon as he entered, he saw me squatting on the ground washing vegetables. After a moment of surprise, he walked out the door, saw the house number was correct, and then came back. The awkward atmosphere was broken by Aunt Lynn's appearance. "Alan, you're here. This is Lynn. She's recently interested in investing in fish ponds. Aren't you an expert in this field? I asked the young lady to come ask you." Knowing the person in front of me was Alan, I stopped what I was doing, stood up, and walked toward him. "Hello, Alan, I am Lynn." Alan wiped his hand on his clothes and held my hand. "Hello." He looked very approachable. His clumsy actions made him seem cute. After dinner, Alan suggested we go to the fish pond I was going to manage. It's not false to say I was touched. He was so busy and could have easily found an excuse to brush me off. I changed my clothes and went to the fish pond with Alan. "Your fish pond is 30 mu, the water depth should be maintained at 2.5 meters, and you should use 150 kilograms of quicklime per mu to clear the pond. Your water depth is insufficient if you want to raise fish." I took out my notebook and took notes while nodding, then hurriedly asked, "Are there any specific requirements for the fish?" After thinking, Alan answered, "Generally speaking, for a fish pond of this scale, there should be about 2,000 crucian carp, 1,500 bream, and around 20 silver carp, but at the beginning, you can start by raising fish species that are easier to survive. You don't need to worry about workers, I'll introduce you to some experienced people when the time comes. As for the high-end fishing grounds you want to run, you need to divide the pond into zones. Beginners and experts can't be in the same area. If beginners can't catch fish and see others catching, they will feel discouraged. There is also a type of social fish pond where fishing is not the main purpose. When attracting customers, you need to pay attention to the advertising content." Alan talked to me all afternoon. I originally thought he was just a nouveau riche who made money from fish farming. After getting to know him better, I found out he has a PhD in agronomy. He has even published several SCI papers on aquaculture. With Alan's help, my fish pond and fishing grounds began to take shape. Beginner ponds are all half price, even if a customer doesn't catch a single fish. As the owner, I would still give them a fish. At this time, the fish from the breeding farm come into play. The second fish pond does not charge fishing fees, but the fish caught must be weighed by the pound, which greatly satisfies the customer's emotions. The fish pond at the back is combined with a restaurant, and the deluxe version even has water entertainment projects. My funds were a bit insufficient, but with Alan's help in the early stages, I was still able to manage. The fish pond's profits quickly increased, and my net worth rose accordingly. After these few months of getting along, my relationship with Alan improved a lot. I no longer called him Mr. Allen, and he no longer called me Miss Lynn. That day, I was doing financial reports in the yard when I heard Alan's voice from afar. He soon walked up to me. "Are you doing the report?" "Yes, almost done, wait for me a moment." "Okay." Although he was waiting for me, Alan didn't relax at all. He helped me clean the yard and washed all my dirty bowls. At first, I felt a bit embarrassed and told him not to do these things, but no matter how I persuaded him, it was useless, so I just let him be. "Your bowl still looks like it did yesterday. Did you skip breakfast?" My hands paused while typing, feeling a bit guilty. "Don't try to make excuses to fool me again, Lynn." I smiled helplessly and had to admit it. Because of the fish pond situation, I was often so busy that I forgot to eat. Alan was very concerned about me not eating. After I nodded, Alan looked at me with a "I hate to see you like this but can't do anything" expression. "Health is the foundation of revolution, same as always?" That same as always was the tomato and egg noodles Alan made. He really cooked them very well. They are all CEOs, and Shawn always acts superior. Don't even mention cooking for me. Ever since Nina appeared, when I was sick and asked him to get me a glass of hot water, it was seen as a greedy woman's behavior. Maybe Alan isn't as rich as him, but first-generation entrepreneurs are always smarter and tougher than second-generation rich kids. After finishing the report, a bowl of egg noodles was also placed in front of me. Halfway through eating, Alan smiled and asked, "Full?" Whenever I am full, I tend to slow down my eating pace. Other people's kindness should always be accepted. Even if I'm full, I will slowly finish the food. If you're full, don't eat any more. Eating too much will make you uncomfortable. I bit my chopsticks and laughed out loud. Alan, are you a worm inside my stomach? You know me so well. Ha ha ha, I can't help it. Your pure thoughts are all written on your face. It's hard not to know. Simple-minded? It's the first time someone has described me that way. Shawn has always thought I was a calculating woman who craves wealth and status. If I were really like Alan said, why has Shawn never cared about my feelings all these years? Seeing that my expression was a bit off, Alan hurriedly spoke up. What's wrong? Did I say something wrong? I smiled and shook my head, returning to normal. Then Alan took out a gift box from behind. Look, do you like it? I wasn't shy either, reaching out to take it and opening it right away. It was the heart of the ocean, a gift for the one I cherish most. Last month, I was invited to attend a jewelry exhibition. The organizer suddenly gave me something, saying, I think this suits you quite well, ha ha ha. I haven't found the chance to give it to you until now. If you don't like it, just find some place to put it, anyway. I like it. What did you say? Alan was surprised by my response. He had given me many things before, and I always accepted them politely. This was the first time I actively expressed liking something, not just out of politeness, but truly liking it. Alan looked stunned, just like when we first met. I said, I really like your gift. The man had just been stammering, trying to cover up something, which was really amusing. He also said I was simple-minded and easy to guess, but isn't Alan the same? The heart of the ocean is not just any casual gift. It requires spending a lot of money and making a big decision. Once someone buys the heart of the ocean, all the women's jewelry he buys in this lifetime can only be given to the person who owns the heart of the ocean. This is a promise, and also a deep expression of love. Alan probably thought I didn't understand these things. But anyone who isn't foolish can see it. Such beautiful jewelry, how could it possibly be a party giveaway? Has Shawn ever given me any gifts? It seems not, at least that's how I remember it. If he did, it would probably be half the cost of the cake he bought for my birthday each year. But most of the cake was eaten by him. To cater to his taste, I always bought mango cake. Thinking about it, I was really foolish. I actually thought a man like that truly loved me. The little things he did that moved me were all low-cost efforts, things anyone could do, yet I was so touched that I was head over heels, thinking I couldn't live without him. Alan looked at me with a gentle expression, and I felt a bit shy under his gaze. Why do you keep looking at me? After coming back to his senses, Alan quickly turned his head away. He wouldn't admit that it was because he was captivated by my face. Ahem, sorry, Lynn, I was thinking of taking you to see the new fishing pond tomorrow. Would you like to go? Of course I want to go when Alan invites me. You can dress nicely tomorrow. The new fishing pond will be hosting a banquet in the evening, and the scenery is very beautiful. I'll take photos of you then. Perhaps afraid I would misunderstand, Alan hurriedly explained. I didn't mean that your usual clothes don't look good on you. You always look great. I saw on your Facebook that you like taking photos, so I just wanted to help you. Wear whatever you like. Alan really is something, he stammers whenever he gets nervous. Got it, I'll wear my favorite clothes tomorrow. Don't overthink it, I'm not overthinking it either. Early the next morning, I looked at the wardrobe full of clothes Alan had given me and rubbed my forehead with a bitter smile. Which one is his favorite? I recalled his expression every time he gave me a gift, but I really couldn't tell. It seems he only cares whether I like them. 3 hours later, I finally made my final choice. A simple and elegant blue off-shoulder dress, perfect to pair with the heart of the ocean. Alan had planned to pick me up, but I refused. I wanted to go alone and quietly give him a surprise. To show him with my actions that I really like his gifts, every single one of them. I just didn't expect that when I was about to enter the park, I saw Shawn. I intended to leave quickly, but he grabbed my wrist. I instinctively struggled free and looked at him cautiously. "Why are you here?" Shawn was hurt by my reaction. "Lynn, I've been looking for you for a long time, and finally got news about you. Can you forgive me and give me another chance? It was all my fault before, listening to Nina who was stirring up trouble between us." "Stop, stop. I don't want to hear your explanation, and I don't want to see you anymore. As for the past, it's all in the past. Don't bother me again." Shawn, unwilling to give up, took out a gift box from behind. It was another piece of jewelry from the Heart of the Ocean brand. It can be said to be a high-end luxury item most loved by women in the upper-class social circles. When I was young, I also thought that if I worked hard, I could have such jewelry in the future. In just 2 days, 2 men presented them to me. Shawn knelt on one knee holding a ring. "Lynn, marry me, I will spend my life making it up to you. Give me one more chance." Before I could refuse, Alan quickly came over and held me in his arms, asserting his claim. "Shawn, it's a bit inappropriate to snatch my person on my own turf." "What do you mean his person?" I nestled against his chest, a smile playing on my lips. With someone else involved, Shawn put away the ring, stood up, and looked at Alan with full hostility. "What do you mean your person?" Shawn's voice was filled with anger. "She is my girlfriend." "I'm not, we broke up a long time ago." After hearing this, Alan looked at Shawn with a smile, naturally noticing the ring on his hand. "An HD ring?" That day at the auction, Shawn and I were competing for the Heart of the Ocean. I still remember, with Shawn's strength, I definitely couldn't win, but Shawn gave up after bidding 20 million. "Does he like this diamond ring more?" Alan's words shocked me. 20 million, this broken necklace costs 20 million? Alan really is a spendthrift. "Are you crazy, selling such an expensive thing to give to me?" Alan comfortingly patted my hand. "Because you are worth it." At this moment, Shawn also saw the necklace around my neck. That Heart of the Ocean, he originally planned to buy it at the auction to give to me. But 20 million, it's not that he didn't have the money, he just subconsciously felt I wasn't worthy. Or maybe he thought that diamond ring was enough to win back my heart. After all, my greatest wish was to marry him. Shawn looked at the scene in front of him, staggering. The things he was reluctant to buy were naturally bought by someone else for me. He really lost completely. People always fantasize about things they can't have. Shawn's voice choked. "Lynn, I didn't mean to withhold your money on purpose. It's just that a long time ago, you said you wanted to marry me and save your own dowry. I was afraid you wouldn't be able to save it, so I wanted to help you. I never intended to take your money for myself. I really love you, and I will give you something better than the Heart of the Ocean." Alan protected me behind him, wearing a look of disdain. "Shawn, I also know something about what's between you two. I was afraid Lynn would be hurt, so I never mentioned it. If you really love her, you wouldn't constantly think about whether she is a gold digger. Even if someone tries to sow discord, it was proven at the auction that you don't love him. I never ask for anything in return when I give her gifts, as long as she is happy, no matter how much I spend, I am willing. I just want to see the joy on her face the moment she receives the gift." "You can't do it, you value money too much. If you like someone, you would give her the best, but you didn't." Alan's words hit Shawn's heart one by one. When he saw me holding Alan's hand tightly, he knew. I will never go back to him. Nor will I ever forgive him. "Shawn, I don't love you anymore. Because of you, I have lost a lot. My mother. My friends. My career. I've done enough. If you feel guilty, then don't come looking for me again. If your presence is in my life, I would find it quite disgusting." After saying this, I pulled Alan away without looking back. Shawn watched my departing figure. Tears uncontrollably fell from his eyes. He reached out to grab me, but found I was walking farther and farther away. A wave of heartache and suffocation overwhelmed him. Lynn, I am sorry. Alan turned to see Shawn breaking down in tears, feeling deeply moved. After walking with Alan for a while, he reached back and took my hand. This time, he was the one leading. Didn't you say you were going to take photos for me? I followed him with a puzzled look. When the man stopped walking, I also leaned forward to look. It was a whole patch of camellias. How do you know I like, Lynn, will you be my girlfriend? Alan and I spoke at the same time. The man's voice drowned out mine. Who confesses like this? It made my face blush. I really like you, Lynn, I will treat you well, can you give me a chance? How do you know I like camellias? I never told you. I was a bit puzzled. You always spray that perfume, and there are a few camellia plants in the yard. I have other flowers in my yard too. I asked again. But no matter what you do, you always like to face the camellias. You also take the best care of the camellias, and when you're in a bad mood, you like to fiddle with the camellias. I smiled softly and replied quietly, if you take good photos of me, I'll consider giving you a chance. Really? Alan excitedly held my hands. Really? He was truly a good person, both sincere and passionate.